So, for my presentation, what I'm going to be doing on is going to be man versus machine. Sorry, bad marketing. So what it is basically that technology and improvements in technology have irrevocably damaged society and Western culture. And the ways that it have done it is it has damaged the way that our government works, the people itself, and also our language. And so I'm going to start off with the technology is damaging for the government, damaging to the government, sorry. And the way I'm going to start off is with wiretapping and video surveillance, which has become increasingly prevalent in today's society. So the main government act that we have that right now is hurting the people is the Patriot Act, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but basically it allows the government to tap our phones or other communication devices and listen in on for damaging about terrorism, whether or not like we're going to do something to a large body of people, and that could be really bad because basically it allows the government free reign over what you can hear. Like the government can overhear you saying something that you may have done illegal and catch you on it, even though you were saying it privately in your home office, calling a friend, accidentally bringing up something you did illegally. And this also can go along with hacking and cyber terrorism. And cyber terrorism, it's a pretty big threat today. If you've seen the movie Live Free and Die Hard by director Lynn Wiseman, it's basically the whole movie is about a group of terrorists who take over our economic system and crash it, our stock market, and causing widespread panics, which causes in turn lots of death and destruction. And in the movie you see the actor Bruce Willis tearing apart, like places like New York City, flipping cars and stuff. And the reason why this is bad is because there's been attacks on information centers recently. More attacks have been happening, and Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups have become more wiser to the amount of damage that they can do. And that's completely damaging to culture itself, because now we have to fear that our own information centers could be destroyed, taking out our part of life. Because think about it, if you had no power, no water, people around here wouldn't be able to really live that well. If you had no running water or power, we're screwed. And then also now with politics and technology, there's new web sources all over the internet that are kind of iffy, like Professor states. Anybody can post an opinion on a web page, and people blindly go to these sites and are immediately attracted to what their big coloring and their big words and their little seal of approval that says that they are an approved source that could be faked completely. And so how technology is segueing into how technology is damaging to the people is identity theft is another major crime that's been on the increase. And you're getting what's called phishing, spelled with a PH, and spyware and other internet tapping devices, which allow people, if you let's have a survey. How many people here use internet to track their bank account or anything like that? Yeah, that's more than 90% of you guys. So phishing, how it works is they send you an email, and it tells you urgent, you need to check your password is unprotected or whatever. Please enter your account name and password. And as soon as somebody does that, they automatically send that information to wherever these people are, and they now have access to your full bank account, and they can transfer it anywhere they want. So, and then also with that is social networking sites. People nowadays use social networking a lot more, and that's becoming a problem because you post a lot of your information on the social networking sites. I mean, you got your name, your address, your numbers, phone numbers, everything that an identity person needs except for their social security number, pretty much. And they can get that other ways, like by phishing, calling you up and saying that you're on a government program and they need your social security number that they got off of your social networking site. So, and there's no really way to find out how, for like phone number phishing, that's kind of hard to detect, but emails, you can kind of detect if it's a URL that's not what your web page is. And then, so this is how, and then also people have been using Facebook and other sites to basically damage the language, the English language itself. Okay. And instant messaging and texting have been used for shortening words and sentences like AFK, LOL, you know, etc. And this is damaging to culture itself because the English language is already, you know, it's evolving, but you can't have shortening too much or else it damages it. And I just wanted to restate, so it's damaging to the government, which in turn damages the people, which and then in turn damages the language. So this is a big problem, and technology, I think, I'm a big supporter of technology, but I think it can be also brought in, and so it's not so damaging to the people. Thank you. Actually, forgot this. This is a short little comic. And that's another thing about technology and language.
There, you can see that.
And just pass it back after you're done.
You don't have to stand there waiting for your comments. You go sit down. I'll be right with you.
All right.
That's just too creepy, making you stand there. All right, Patrick, it's a bad idea to start by writing on the board. You end up turning your back to the audience right at the beginning of the speech when you're trying to establish some credibility, so don't do that. The topic area is clear, but your proposition, it's basically a two-part cause and a two-part effect. So you've got multiple claims in the proposition, and that's not what we're looking for. You have a little bit of a setup of what the supporting claims are going to be. They ought to be phrased as claims. They're mostly just signposts of what the subject matter is at this point. When you get to those points, you did okay about signposting them as you got to each point. That was okay. Then I think you run into some trouble because there's not really much evidence on any of the points. On the first point, you've got a whole bunch of hypothetical examples, including a fictitious hypothetical example. Excuse me, that's the second point. The first point on that first point was the Patriot Act. There's no evidence that says this. There are all kinds of assumptions about it. You make it sound like the government's listening in on every phone call that's going out there. That's not how the Patriot Act works. There are criticisms about the Patriot Act, but you haven't developed them. That might be a good argument for you to focus on, but you're all over the place on this subject. The speech ends up sounding like an informative speech on the potential dangers out there. I'm not sure there's any argument that there are potential dangers out there, so what is it that we're arguing about? And then there's really no evidence cited in the rest of the speech, and that's really the big problem here. You don't have any research, you have no statistics, just hypothetical examples to prove your point. You need a little bit clearer summary at the end of the speech also. All right, I've got to stop.